Okay, now, hey, Jermell, I want to pronounce your last name right because I don't want to get into a fight, you know what I mean, where I know I'll lose, you know what I mean? So please tell me your last name.
Charlo.
Jermell Charlo is on the... Okay, now, hey, Jermell, I want to pronounce your last name right because I don't want to get into a fight, you know what I mean, where I know I'll lose, you know what I mean? So please tell me your last name.
Charlo.
Jermell Charlo is on the...
The Charlo brothers, the future of boxing, fashion, and entertainment. Okay. The Iron Man, Jermell Charlo, beat Tony Superbad Harrison by a technical knockout, TKO, in the 11th round, Saturday night. Jamel scored a knockdown in the second round and then got neutralized for at least probably 6 straight rounds or so. And I had Harrison ahead. I had him up by, I believe, 4 points at the time of the stoppage. Tony was boxing beautifully. Jermell was wild and wasn't throwing enough. It was falling into the pattern of the first fight as far as his offense. And people, including Joe Goosen, one of the announcers, wondered why Jermell wasn't throwing more. He was getting popped in the face. That's why. Harrison's jab was good. At times, it was a power shot. He seemed to always land it like a power shot when Jermell's back was to those watching TV. So if you don't have an eye, I mean, you don't see it. You should see it, but you know, people, they see what they want to see. But man, one thing I noticed early on, every time, and I mean every time, Harrison hit Charlo with the left to the body, Jermell backed off and had to reset. The shot hurt, and I'm sure that's something Julian Williams has his eye on as a potential opponent. As we headed to the 8th, 9th, 10th rounds, I thought Harrison was winning rounds, but I also thought the rounds were closer. And Tony was fighting like Erislandy Lara, doing just enough to lose a close one so he could argue he was robbed. That's Lara. And as we see the official cards, that is what would have happened to Tony. Charlo was up on the cards 95-94 and 96-93 twice. No way. No way. Remember, we aren't counting the 2 knockdowns with those scores that happened in the 11th. We're not counting those. Okay, we're counting up to the 10th round. Judges Lou Moret and David Sutherland had the 96-93 cards. They need to be ashamed of themselves. I also questioned Tim Cheatham's. Tim Cheatham had it 95-94 for Charlo. I got to question that card also, but not as much as the other 2 judges. My goodness. Harrison was boxing Charlo up. You hear me? And he was headed to a successful title defense by most observers' eyes, at least those who aren't from Texas. Fox relieved, excuse me, voice is about to go. Fox relieved Larry Hazard of his scoring duties for them. Thank goodness. I mean, Larry's my man, but his cards in numerous fights were off base. The guy he had scoring tonight, I can't remember his name, he was decent, although I agree with Goose and Lennox and Brian Kenny about a couple of rounds he gave to Charlo, and they were like, really? Despite that, I think he had Harrison by 3 or 4 points also. So while we may have disagreed with some of the rounds, I think he was on point with his card, which is something new for us. The knockdowns, had Tony survived, would have brought Charlo within striking range. It would have made it very close. Not on the cards, but just based on what people were seeing, it would have made it a close fight. All right. Although Harrison didn't have his legs and suffered 2 knockdowns, if you're going to stop it, then stop it after the second knockdown. As Charlo came in for the finale, if you watch it, all but one punch either missed or hit Tony's gloves. Okay? So Charlo either missed all but one punch or hit Tony's gloves. And so here's where I'll disagree with the rest of the world. There's this myth, if you don't punch back, it should be stopped. A lot of times that's true. But if a guy is on unsteady legs and he doesn't swing back, or even if he does, it's the referee's job to watch everything. If you don't stop it after the second knockdown, where you wouldn't have got an argument, give the fighter, give the champion the benefit here. I understand what people say. Yeah, but he wasn't punching back. But that doesn't make sense. He gets clobbered. You don't stop it. He gets attacked with a bunch of misses and blocks, and you stop it. Make sense out of that. This is the same Jack Reese that you say allowed a dead man to rise like The Undertaker a year ago, but stops a fight with a bunch of wild misses. So you're outraged when he gives Fury a count, but you're happy here. I mean, which way do you want it? Let me know. Charlo deserves as much credit as Harrison deserves blame in this fight. Tony threw the fight away. I mean, disregard the cards in a decision if it would have went that way. Disregard the cards, but Harrison was having his way. But then somewhere in those mid to late rounds, he took his foot off the gas. And Charlo, to his credit, went for it and ramped it up. He got inside and got in range and threw with Harrison, who started to goof off and was a bit too comfortable in there as the fight got close to the end. Jermell got inside where he needed to be and scored. And it's not like he wasn't in that spot before during the fight a few times. It's just Tony was the boss all night. And he took every shot outside of the one in the second round. He took them. But the one shot that helped ice him came as he was on offense, but a little too close for comfort with that offense. I don't know if Charlo knew what he did when he did it, But if he did, then it was an excellent adjustment he made, and basically the only chance he had in this fight, and he scored it. While I feel bad for Tony, let me say two things. This will sound weird, but sometimes you're happy a guy gets stopped because he was going to be upset when he heard those scores. Minus him scoring a knockdown of his own and winning the final 2 rounds, he was going to lose. And I don't think there is a debate on who was winning the fight midway through round 11 until those knockdowns happened. And that's why I say, shame on you, Lou Moret. Shame on you, David Sutherland. And shame on you, Tim Cheatham, for that matter. No way was Jermell Charlo up in this fight. And I'll give you the second round knockdown. No way. Second thing is, you made your bed and now you have to lie in it. All that beyond necessary trash talk, and now you have to live it down now. If you heard Tony Harrison in the post-fight interview, the one in the ring, his excuse was one of our concerns in our Keys and Concerns video. He said with the year off, his body didn't react as well as he'd like. It didn't react too well. And I'm not sure I believe that 100%, but I'll take his word for it. I think that might be a piece of it, but anyway, Charlo was in shape and he looked ready to go 15. He ate a lot of shots and he took chances and was mostly unsuccessful. But when he found success late, he jumped on it. So now he's a 2-time champion and has his eyes set on Julian Williams. At least we think. Jamel didn't answer 2 questions the way we wanted. When asked about Williams, he talked about twins making history. Now, that could mean unifying, or that could mean something else. So he was a bit, I would say, I'll just say he was a bit coy, or just not clear, I'll say, with that. When asked, and then another question, when asked if he'd fight Harrison a 3rd time in a fight I'm sure people would want to see, he kind of sort of said, yeah, I think. But then he cleared it up and said he was interested in bigger and better things, which sounds like a no to me. And it's not a style. If he don't have to, listen, my belief is if there's nobody clamoring for it and he doesn't have to face Harrison again, he won't. That was a no to me. So, Harrison, you may have talked and then fought yourself out of an immediate title shot. You might have talked your way out of it, and you certainly fought your way out of it. But that may be cool. Heal up, rest up, and then get a tune-up in like Jermell did before your fight. And maybe you'll be right back in there with a Lara or a Williams or a Charlo. You might have to wait until Jarrett Hurd or Erickson Lubin get their shots, but we'll see. It seems like nobody in Premier will go after a WBO title, which is one of the real titles. But on the flip side, Fox did succumb to the pressure and mentioned Terrence Crawford. So that's a step in the right direction. They mentioned the man's name. Of course, Crawford mentioned Premier on ESPN in his last one. So, hey, take any positives you want after that, okay? Just take the positives. So if Julian Williams holds serve on January 18th against Jason Rosario, then it's on. Right? Well, if Williams, for some reason, isn't available, I'd like to see Charlo versus Hurd, and so would you. That was the initial plan before Harrison did his thing. Hurd has a mismatch coming up against a welterweight. That's right, a welterweight coming off a loss. That's right, off a loss. Francisco Santana. They could have done better than that with the matchup. What else did I notice? As the fight was stopped and they showed Jermell in the ring and locker room and also at the post-fight press conference, you see Jermell taking a deep breath, like sighs of relief in between talking or taking pictures or whatever. You know why, right? He knows he was getting his butt kicked. I mean, he won't admit that, but he knows he dodged one. He dodged one tonight, for sure. He should also be confident knowing he controlled the fact that he dodged the bullet by landing those left hooks. So he took it into his own hands. It was a decent fight. I mean, it started out fast. It kind of slowed to Harrison's liking. And then Charlo did his thing. So, but we got some nice matchups at 154 pounds. That's the super welterweight or junior middleweight division. You have Munguia, who may be the odd man out. And he's fighting middleweight next in January. He's fighting what's my man's name? The guy with the mustache. Anyway, he's fighting him. You got Munguia, you got Lara, you got Williams, Charlo, Harrison, Hurd, Lubin. You got Sergio Garcia. You got Patrick Teixeira and Jesse Vargas, who probably drops out of the running as he's going down to fight Mikey Garcia at a lower weight. Austin Trout says he's moving down also, so you can take him out of the equation. You got Carlos Adames is there, if he can recover from his loss to Teixeira. And then you got guys like James Kirkland, yes, that James Kirkland who's moving up the charts, and Kell Brook. So we'll see how it plays. It was a good win for Charlo, a blown loss for Harrison, and 2020, at least by mid-year, should give us some fireworks. So stay tuned for that. Daniel Dubois nearly decapitated the Japanese heavyweight Kayataro Fujimoto. Man, he got a right hand, boy, I tell you. Like Deontay Wilder, Dubois needs to develop the left hand, so we'll see. But keep an eye on Dubois. He passed his first test against Nathan Gorman earlier this year. That was a matchup, undefeated guys. And he got Gorman out of there. And so Dubois fought 5 times in 2019, 3 times in 2018, and 6 times in 2017, which was his debut year as a pro. He's only 22. They need to keep developing him. He needs to sign with a DAZN or Top Rank. Frank Warren is his guy right now, but I like him to cut a deal or a partnership with someone else to take this kid to another level when the time is right. I just don't know if Frank Warren, notwithstanding his record with fighters, I just don't know if this. We'll see. Ife Ajagba was in a wild one with Iago Kaladze. Both guys went down. Both guys landed big shots. And not really impressed with Ajagba. I've said that in many videos. I think he's basically Michael Grant with a little bit better placement on the power shots. He's raw, a bit robotic. I just don't suspect he'll ever be that good. But then again, I don't think the heavyweights, when you look at the 70s, 60s, 80s, 90s, I don't think they're that good either today. So knowing that, you got a shot. He's imposing at 6'6". Just ask the 6'3" Kaladze. But if you look at Kaladze's last 5 fights, it goes loss, 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 draw, loss. And ladies and gentlemen, all 5 of his losses were via the KO. And I mean KO too, not TKO. KO. Ajagba, as with Dubois, is young. He needs to keep working and keep getting better. He has a very good trainer. Ronnie, okay. Shields, okay. If you ever listen to Ronnie Shields in the corner, that's his favorite word. Jamel, okay? I need you to keep throwing the jab, okay? And then after the jab, throw the right hand behind the jab, okay? I think you're winning the fight, okay? Like, come on, man. Anyway, so if anybody's going to get him better, Ronnie Shields is that guy that can help him. But Ajagba needs to stay busy. He fought 4 times in 2019. He fought 5 times in 2018 and 3 times in 2017, which was also his debut year, his pro debut year. So he and Dubois should shoot for 5 to 6 times next year in the ring. Back to the Dubois card. Liam Williams' fight with Alantez Fox was sloppier than I hoped it would be. It didn't play out as good as I imagined. And Williams roughed him up and got the TKO. I mean, it was a fight with headbutts and roughhouse tactics, and Liam Williams got the job done. Friday night saw Daniel Jacobs getting touched up by Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. before Jr. decided he had enough. Here's a guy who's been enabled during his career too many times to mention. Skipped drug test, failed drug test, weighing in above the limit, and quitting when it seems he just wanted a way out. That fight was heating up. I mean, boy, you hate to see that. But you always know it's going to be something with that guy, yet he still gets opportunity after opportunity. Fans were upset. They threw things in the ring. They were throwing stuff at Jacobs after Chavez left the ring. I'm like, Daniel, like, yo, hey man, I was fighting. Don't get mad at me. I was doing my job. And then when you look at Chavez Jr., it's like at first there were conflicting stories. He broke his hand. Then he broke his nose. Either way, whatever you want to believe or not, Jacobs needs to get back in there. Sooner than later. Chavez looked huge in there, and Jacobs is not a small guy. Jacobs is saying if a fight with Jermell Charlo or Gennady Golovkin is available, then it'll get done. And I'm not sure at which weight he's talking about, but he intimated it would be at the lower weight. So I guess if some big money is on the table, he'll sweat himself down to make 160. Jacobs kind of sounded like a guy who's lost, as he was asked about, the question was about Billy Joe Saunders or Callum Smith as potential opponents. And then he responded, Charlo or Golovkin. And then he said if he couldn't get those two, then it's whatever after that. But like, okay, like, seemed kind of lost. Also, my man from Camden, New Jersey, Raymond Ford, scored a sensational knockout over Francisco Mural in a featherweight bout. Ford moves to 5-0 and got his second knockout. He looked sharp. I mean, he looked good, man. But of course, Mural has been stopped 3 times in 10 fights, so take that the way you want. Ford is one to watch, though. I mean, he's slick with it, so check him out. You got Ryota Murata on early Monday morning on ESPN Plus as he defends his belt against Stephen Butler. Also, the return. My main man, Chocolatito, will be on that card, and they'll show his fight. So, Roman Gonzalez, Chocolatito, and then Murata versus Butler. It's going to be early Monday morning, December 23rd. I can't remember if it's like 3:30 a.m. on the East Coast or like 6:30 or 5:30 or I can't remember. I'm leaning toward 5:30. And the last time they did that, which was Nonito Donaire and Inoue, they wound up fighting closer to like 8 o'clock-ish or something like that. So, I mean, if you a diehard boxing junkie, then you're getting up ready to go to work on Monday, just cut ESPN Plus on and see what you see. All right. Also, next Saturday, the 28th, Gervonta Davis takes on Yuriorkis Gamboa for a vacant, bogus belt that they'll convince you is another title for the winner. Also, Jean Pascal defends his bogus belt against Badou Jack. Check those fights out, though. They might be interesting. Lastly, we heard from Errol Spence Jr. And he sounded like either he's had a little sauce before the interview, or he sounded equivalent to somebody where the Novocaine is just starting to wear off, and you're just talking a little funny. I don't know, but if he's pronouncing himself fit and the doctors pronounce him fit, I don't want to hear excuses when he's back in the ring and when he loses. Well, the car accident did. Well, I thought he lost his last fight, to be honest. I thought Shawn Porter, as a small section of the media, your Douglas Fishers and your, I can't remember. I took the names of people who thought Porter beat him, who were live, and some who were who watched it on television, and I don't have the names, but I know he was one of them, and he got a lot of likes and a lot of thumbs up, or no, the likes, the little hearts things on Twitter, and a lot of retweets. So it was a close fight, but I just thought Spence Jr. was lost for like at least the first 7 rounds or so. I just thought Porter just had him confused. He didn't know how to handle that. And to his credit, he came on and he kind of did what Jermell did. He got inside and landed a shot that knocked Porter down. And I thought at worst, if you were going to give it to Spence Jr., you would have gave it to him by that point. Didn't play out that way. But the point is, he was looked at as invincible, and he couldn't stop a lightweight. I don't want to hear none of that. He wasn't trying. And he didn't stop Porter. And then when Crawford got dropped, then it's like, oh, I can't see him beating. I'm like, come on, man. So maybe one of the premier guys will step up and fight Mean Machine, and then let's see how they do. All right, Danny Garcia, fight Mean Machine. Keith Thurman Jr., Mean Machine, go fight him. See how you do. Anyway. So we'll see. Spence Jr. said he's going to fight in May. Maybe they'll give him a Louis Collazo, or I gotta look. He probably won't fight. What's the guy name that he kind of shook for a couple of years? Ugas. Your Dennis Ugas. That might be too much of a risk right now, especially if you're trying to preserve a showdown with Danny Garcia, should he win later in the year. So anyway, my voice is about had it. I'm going to stop here, upload this thing, and hit the sack. Catch you later.